It's okay. That's all right. That's
You
all
can
right.
fill it in.
That's all
Okay, let her roll.
Long day for both of us, actually. John Tibbetts from Kansas City. Okay.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Two shut and a single on inside.
Well, growing up in the 50s, are the problems with mother and son necessarily any different than any other decade? I mean, I know the movie's set in the 50s, and it's a lot of fun to watch all that. But it's really more of a universal story. It's not time-bound, is
Sure,
it?
not at all. I don't think so. That's what makes it powerful for us. I mean, that's what is so powerful about reading Tobias Wolff's book.
And at the same time, though, when we watch it from a 90s perspective, then maybe we find ourselves saying, why doesn't that mother do this or that or get out or go to the authorities or something? Now, maybe in the 50s that wasn't such a common
I don't even know if that... I think you probably would have said the same thing in the 50s. I think that that also is universal, that whenever we see anyone in what seems to be a solvable situation to us on the outside, we say, why don't they get out? Why don't they just get out of it? But I don't think that there are any less cases of people in emotionally and physically abusive relationships than there were then. I don't think it's any easier for women to get out of them today than it was then. There might, in some ways, you know, she might have had more options. She might have been skilled, for instance. This was a woman who was raised in a time where women were more traditionally raised to become housewives, and maybe if it were now, she might have a skill. So it might have been easier for her to find a job, which would have made it easier for her to find a home.
Or at least be skilled in uranium prospecting or something.
Something.
I love the introductory episodes where we first meet you because you are such a delightful eccentric.
It also sets up the... I mean, she is the eternal optimist. You know, she's going to find uranium with some bogus Geiger counter. I mean, what is that thing?
And don't you think that's what strikes a chord with all of us? Because there is a time in all of our lives when we do what you were able to do. Mom had a way of dealing with problems. She left them behind.
Right.
But after a while, you can't do that
Well,
anymore.
she can't. I mean, I think that's, you know, ultimately what the undoing of the family is that she gets herself trapped, and finally she cannot leave them behind when she really needs to.
And let me tell you, some of those scenes, be they the more combative ones or the ones at the dinner table, it's scary stuff. And I was uncomfortable while I was watching it. Now, that's okay, isn't it? Let's tell our viewers, that's okay.
Sure. Sure. I mean, I think it's important because you know, you have to take the journey of this movie, and I think if you commit to it, there's a beautiful reward at the end of it. But it's not a light, silly film. It's an important movie with some serious messages, and I think it's important that people see it.
Now, am I mistaken, or can I not recall a Hollywood mainstream film that has dealt this directly with dysfunctions and abuse like this? I can't.
Not a Hollywood mainstream. I mean, I was actually in a movie a few years ago called Desert Bloom that wasn't totally dissimilar in tone, about a young girl in a not totally dissimilar situation.
But the difference being here in a major studio release like this, that I think marks, it's a benchmark, possibly.
Maybe.
At a time when movies don't seem to be about much.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, that's why it means a whole lot to all of us involved in it, because I think if audiences take to the film, then maybe they're trying to tell us something. You know, maybe it is time to start making films that get people thinking and get people feeling for a change, as opposed to just hammering them over the head.
Now, as a tribute, I think, to the acting here, there are times when the force of the confrontations among the three of you, as I say, make us uncomfortable. But on the set, I mean, does it ever get a little that way too?
No.
De Niro is so powerful there.
Yeah, we all got on great. I mean, it was actually a fun set. I think there's something about having kids there. And also you have to remember, you know, Leo was the oldest of the children. Or no, he wasn't, but there was a young girl in the movie, a girl named Elijah Dushka, who played the little girl, who we all had to be careful because of her. You know, this is a real young person, and you don't want her upset, you know, really. And I think you have to watch yourself, you know, when there are kids around.
Yeah.
And I think certainly when we were doing those scenes, you know, the days had a different tone, but for the most part, we had fun. I mean, even in a lot of those dinner scenes,
There's
you
a
know,
really dark humor there at times.
it was hard for a lot of us. You know, I think Bob is so funny in this movie, even a lot of times when he's being awful, that it was,
Call me late for anything, but not late for dinner.
you know, I mean, he's funny, so it's hard for it.
We are over time, and it's been a long day, and I need to let you go. But this boy's life is really this mother's life, too. Let's not lose sight of that.
Well, I don't know.
Yeah. Ellen Barkin, it's been a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to see you again.
Thanks.
The movie is called This Boy's Life, and we're both in New York City. I'm John Tibbetts during the Great Blizzard for KCTV5. Is it as great as they've been billing it? I wonder if it's lived up.